Am I the a-hole for exposing my ex to his mother about our kids? I, 45 female, am currently divorced from my ex Thomas, 47 male of 30 years. We ended up seeing a lawyer to help with dividing stuff. Everything was pretty much wrapped up, till he said he no longer wanted any part of our kids' lives, 5 male and 12 female. I didn't argue with him about it since I already know what it's like having a parent who doesn't want you around or wants to be in your life. I asked what he wanted me to tell the kids, and he just said, "Whatever you think is best, I don't care. I don't want to parent anymore." Everything was in agreement and signed with no fuss. A few weeks later, I got a call from my ex-mother-in-law asking if we could meet each other. When I came over, she broke down crying and begging to let my ex see his kids again. I was confused about what she meant because not once did he contact me after meeting the lawyer. She went on about how my ex said he really missed them and that I was just a petty witch for taking full custody. Also that he was crying for days about it. I told her my version of events and she called it BS, saying her son wouldn't lie like that, especially not about his kids. Then I decided to call him in front of her. He didn't know she and I were meeting that day. I said, "Hey, 5 male has a soccer game in a few days," which he did, and I was wondering if you wanted to go. I know he'd really love it and be happy to see you. He instantly said, "No, I already said I'm not doing this anymore." I raised my voice a bit saying, "Well, what about holidays and birthdays? Because we never discussed any of it and your family might want to see them." He just said, "My family already thinks the kids aren't mine anyways, so it doesn't matter." I asked, "Well, how do you think this is going to affect Denise, his mom? She's over the moon about them." He just said, "She loves me more than the kids, so I doubt this will be an issue for her." After a bit more talking, we finally hung up. Ex-mother-in-law was straight-faced and nodded at everything that just happened, saying, okay." She asked me to leave and said we would be in touch. Later that day, I got a call from my ex saying how it's my fault he was kicked out of his mom's house and possibly will be taken off her will. Also, that none of his family members will talk to him because of what ex-mother-in-law heard. He threw a lot of insults at me before I hung up, and now him and his mates keep calling and texting me. Even my friend is saying I shouldn't have said anything in the first place, and I ruined his life. Now for the top comments. Not stay home. He had the right to sign off his rights. He did not have the right to paint you in a bad light and make you look to be at fault and evil/manipulative. That's defamation of character. You had the right to set the record straight. His mom had a right to go no contact with her son, a grown man who didn't want contact with his actual young kids. Sounds like he's getting a taste of his own medicine, aka karma. You put it better than I could have, 100%. Not stay home. Your ex-mother-in-law deserved to know what lies her son has been spreading and how little he wants to do with being a parent. Him being mad he was caught is his own fault, not yours. Exactly. Hopefully, it works out to stay in contact with Denise. Yeah, I hope so too. The sudden disappearance of their father from their lives is going to be difficult for the children, no matter how their mother tells them. The 5-year-old may not fully understand yet, but the 12-year-old will. If Grandma Denise is a good influence, which it seems like she is from what we know, I hope Opie can find room in their lives for her. She seems to love the children very much. I'm sure she'd love visitation. It may be beneficial to the children too, so they can see they still have family on that side who love them. They're already going to be dealing with feelings of abandonment. No need to make it worse by making them feel that whole side of the family abandoned them too, instead of just their father. Not stay home. He made a decision for which he knew his family would judge him negatively, so he lied and made you the scapegoat. You didn't go seeking out his family to tell them what he'd done. You were blindsided by the whole thing. No way were you obligated to carry that water for him. Not at all. I can't understand how anyone would ever take his side in this. He abandoned his children, blamed you, and now is angry that his malfeasance and subsequent lies have been found out. If I were you, I'd reach out to ex-mother-in-law and see if she would be interested in seeing the kids and maybe having a relationship with her. Unless there are toxic things about her you haven't included. It seems like she'd love to see them, and I'll bet they miss their grandma as well. Next story. Am I the a-hole for not allowing my mother-in-law in the delivery room? I'm 18 and this is my first baby. I'm getting induced on Tuesday. I live with my fiancé, male 21, and his mother, female 37. We live in a converted area behind our house. It was a garage, but was flipped into a studio apartment. My fiancé and I have been together for 2.5 years now, and I have lived here for a little over a year. My mother-in-law is very opinionated, which is why I believe we're having these issues. We're having a little boy and decided to name him Carter. My mother-in-law said it's an ugly name. She regularly refers to him as her baby, which also bothers me. She insisted that she gets a baby monitor and a key to our place, just in case we don't wake up. She's even asked to set up a schedule, basically switching my son off between the three of us so that is comfortable with everybody. She's made comments asking if I'd love him more if he was a girl, or if he came out with a condition would I still love him the same. I told my fiancé about this, but he said that is just his mom and she means no harm by it. She is just inquisitive. She has been a part of every single moment of my pregnancy, which I should be grateful for, but I feel suffocated. It's like she thinks this is her baby too, and she's a third parent. Besides referring to him as hers, she's thrown away clothes I bought because they're ugly. She's made comments about how young I am and how she's worried about my parenting skills. She's insisted that she be made emergency contact and be on all of his paperwork as well, such as medical release, etc. This morning at breakfast, she brought up how excited she is for Tuesday and that she can't wait to see her baby be born. I just had enough. I told her that my son wasn't her baby, that it was my baby, and that I'd really prefer if she stays home while I have the baby because I just wanted that time at the hospital to be me, my fiancé, and my son. She started bawling. I ended up compromising. She can come to the hospital but not to the delivery room. She said that's not fair at all. She should be able to see her grandson be born, that I'm ruining a special moment for her. Why can't she be there if they're allowing 2 people, etc.? I apologized and told her I'm just not comfortable with it. And I never told her she could be in the delivery room anyway. She just assumed. She told me that if I don't want her there, then I can leave. But my fiancé told her to stop and asked me to go back to the house. When he came back, he told me that I should consider letting his mom be in the delivery room with me for support. I told him that I didn't need her support. I needed his. I explained that I just wanted some time for just us because we didn't get that the entire pregnancy. He said that he can't support me like she would because he's not a woman and he hasn't had kids. I told him my decision was final. All he said was she's gonna be really upset and that I should have made it explicitly clear from the jump that she wouldn't be in the delivery room. Not stay home. By my math, you're older than she was when she got pregnant with your boyfriend. Remind her that if she can do it at 16, you can do it at 18. I don't know why I haven't said this to her yet, but thank you for reminding me. There's some cannon fodder for you, OP. All kidding aside, she's being emotionally manipulative. You are 100% right. This is not her baby. You'll have plenty of support from ladies who can provide you with all the support you need during delivery. They're called nurses, and they've got more experience here than your mother-in-law can even fathom. You've got this, OP. Good for standing up for yourself. Not stay home. Can you and your fiancé move somewhere else? That woman is way too involved in your lives. I agree with your fiancé that you could have been more upfront, but I'm not convinced his mother would have accepted it earlier on either. It seems like she wants a do-over because she had her own child so young. We've been talking about it. Just don't think we're able to do so now, but we've been looking into cheap apartments. Finding affordable housing is just difficult now. I totally understand that finding housing is hard right now. But if you don't have a come-to-Jesus talk with your partner about his mother and her boundary stomping issues, it's going to get worse. The problem is not your mother-in-law, it's your fiancé. You are having his baby and he is prioritizing his mom right now over you. This is actually shocking. Put a hard stop to this behavior now or it will never end. Don't let these people gaslight you. This is your baby, your delivery, not stay home. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for destroying all my ex-girlfriend's data? I had a pretty big breakup a few years ago. We were together for 7 years until she broke up with me in order to sleep with Fat Jesus from the store she worked at. She refused to collect any of her stuff from me. We're talking clothes, books, manga, anime merch still in the box, DVDs, etc. And most importantly, her old laptop. Upon her refusing to collect any of her stuff, I emailed her. Partly so there would be some record of this. Partly because she'd blocked me on most other platforms because me being upset was apparently emotional blackmail. I said that she had until X date to come and collect her stuff, otherwise I would bin/recycle/sell it. I gave her 60 days to come and collect it. She replied telling me to just buzz off and stop trying to find excuses to see her, and that she did not want any of this stuff and that I should do what I want with it. I specifically inquired about the laptop, and she said she didn't care because she had her main computer, and all her files were backed up on a USB stick. I tried explaining before that it isn't backing up if they're the only copies, but she never listened. I contacted her twice from this point, telling her that she had X number of days to collect it. So if she's going to change her mind, then she needs to let me know. As for the laptop, I contacted her after the given date, telling her that I was about to nuke the drives from the laptop and have them recycled. No response. So I did a responsible thing, given that it wasn't my data. I ran dban on the drives to completely nuke them and then sent them to drive shredding place. Stripped the laptop down for parts, took what was usable, sold the rest on eBay. Forgot about it until a few weeks back. She messaged me asking if she could have the laptop back, because her USB stick had, surprise surprise, failed, and she'd lost all her photos on there, including the only copies she had of the photos of her mother, who unfortunately passed away a few years back. I told her that, as I said before, the laptop was gone, and I destroyed the hard drives. The data was gone. She absolutely flipped the heck out and told me that I'm a horrible person, and that I knew there were photos of her mother on there. So how/why would I ever do that? She thinks I'm a piece of turd, and was being spiteful, and that there was no reason that I couldn't have kept a copy of her data, as I have a huge storage server to keep it on, and that it would have made basically zero impact to myself. I know she's being unreasonable, but she's right. I have around 96 terabyte of storage on my server. I could have stored her entire laptop's worth of data 100 times over and not even notice. There was no reason for me to not do so other than me not wanting to. I absolutely 100% could have kept the data after destroying the laptop. Am I the a-hole for not holding on to the data at absolutely zero inconvenience to myself, knowing exactly what was on there? Now for the comments. Not the a-hole. You gave her every possible warning and opportunity to come collect her stuff before you got it out of your life. Her not choosing to take that seriously is on her, as is not taking basic data backup security measures on her own. Frankly, I'm not sure how much you even believe she's genuinely out of luck, versus this being some kind of mind game. Regardless, though, it's not your problem, so take advantage of not having any reason to be in contact anymore and keep moving forward with your life. Oh, sorry, I should clarify. The deadline was a few years ago now. I must have missed that out. Had to cut a lot out to be within AITA's 3,000 character limit. She just got back in contact with me, apparently expecting me to have held onto the data since 2018. I'd honestly forgotten about it, and pretty much her, until she got back in contact. I could have stored her entire laptop's worth of data 100 times over and not even notice. There was no reason for me to not do so other than me not wanting to. That is 100% a valid reason not to keep the data. Keeping it would mean holding on to the relationship and always having her in the back of your mind. Absolutely unhealthy in the context of moving on from a bad breakup. Not the a-hole. If you nuked them right away, I could see her point. But giving someone 2+ months to collect their stuff and then not doing it simply because she didn't want to means that is her fault. Yeah, plus I feel like not nuking them would have been irresponsible. I certainly wasn't going to keep the physical drive sitting around. I've had a huge clear out over the last few years, throwing out a lot of old crap. My ex's old computer certainly wasn't going to be spared, and just binning it without sanitizing the data in any way would just have been putting her data at risk. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for getting mad at my wife's gender reveal prank and ruining the party? My wife is currently pregnant and we are the proud parents of a 2-year-old girl. To be completely honest, this is an accidental pregnancy. I love being a dad, but our marriage hasn't been good for a while, so we didn't mean to bring another child into it. We had a small gender reveal party at our house. There was a small cannon which was going to shoot out blue or pink powder. When my wife took the thing to aim it, she shot the powder all over me on purpose. I was pissed and just turned to glare at her. She immediately looked uncomfortable and tried to laugh. Everyone seemed put off by me not laughing, and a couple people told me to lighten up. I still didn't laugh and just stood there deadpan. I could see my wife getting more and more uncomfortable. When we were away from the crowd, I asked why the heck would she do that? And she got defensive and said it was a prank and she thought it would be funny. I told her she knows I don't like idiotic pranks, and it wasn't. She demanded to know how I could just stand there like that and humiliate her, and I replied that I really don't care if she was humiliated because she chose to behave like that. She began to cry and said she wants to be in a relationship where they can play pranks, and it wasn't a big deal. I've gotten a lot of crap from a few family members, especially her dad, about how I overreacted and made a party uncomfortable. Edit for everyone asking, we are having a boy. Everyone sucks here for having a gender reveal party. And everyone sucks here for being miserable in their relationship and still bringing an innocent kid into this mess. Troubled relationships and divorces happen. What makes or breaks it is how they proceed to find a healthy balance. The mother might have wanted to keep the kid either way. As long as the parents manage to treat each other with respect, the kids will be fine. Everyone sucks here. Y'all need a therapist or a divorce. Or she needs to respect boundaries. She does, but the way he talks about her oozes with contempt. That's the thing you can't come back from. They need a therapist to get them through this pregnancy. I'm betting divorce anyway. Not stay home. I don't know your wife, but I doubt if the roles were reversed, she would think it was funny. I also don't think your guests would have defended you. 100% guarantee that if he was the one aiming the cannon at her, he would have gotten nothing but crap from other people. I hope he didn't react well at all to this, but the wife gets a pass? Just because she's pregnant? Honestly, her little prank reeks of passive aggression. Again, he should have handled it better, but that was an awful thing for her to do. Everyone sucks here. I wouldn't enjoy that either. If she wants to be with someone who likes that stuff, she shouldn't be with you. Forcing you in front of everyone so you'd have to give her the reaction she wants, or so she thought, is super manipulative. I don't understand people who get off on others' distress or ridiculousness, let alone publicly. But you, sir, sound aggressive and intimidating in manner, like you're trying to shame her out of behavior you don't like. I don't care if you were humiliated because you chose to behave like that. He has no way to talk to anyone, let alone your wife. Just because you don't like it doesn't mean she's inferior because she does. It's just a difference of opinion. Your high-handed, morally superior manner is also evidently achieving nothing but making her dig her heels in. She wants someone who likes stupidity. You want someone who will obey you. Neither of you is happy. Why y'all got married in the first place is beyond me. What a toxic couple. Am I the a-hole for stopping my daughter's biological grandparents being in her life after her father signed his rights away? A few years back with my ex-partner, I ended up with an accidental pregnancy despite using birth control. He wanted me to have a termination. Well, I thought we should keep it. After much arguing about the matter, he told me if I kept the baby, it would be over, and it'd have nothing to do with it. I was hurt by this, but accepted it, as I can't exactly force him, so I told him to sign away his paternal rights if that is how he feels. He agreed, and when I gave birth to my little girl, he signed his rights away. Raising her was a bit of a struggle, but my parents were a godsend in this. It helped out a lot at first. She is now 5 years old and we're doing great. She even calls my current boyfriend of 4 years dad. It seems lately my ex-partner's parents have been putting a lot of pressure on him to have children. But he doesn't want to, so he revealed to them that my daughter exists. I'm aware of this, as he keeps trying to message me to convince me to let them see her. He has even turned up at my house once with them, and when I told him he signed his rights away and has no right to her, and that by law none of the three of them are related to her, he threatened to take me to court, which led me laughing and slamming the door in his face. I do feel a bit guilty over his parents. This isn't their fault. But at the same time, she's only their grandchild by blood. And he had no right, in my opinion, to use my daughter to try and feel their desire for a grandchild. Is it wrong of me to keep them away when I could just keep him away? I just worry this would be confusing to her, and they'd eventually try to make her bond with my ex as a father figure. Now for the top comments. Not today, home. At the moment his side is rights away, they stopped being your daughter's grandparents. You don't owe them anything. If you had a close personal relationship with them independent of the one with your sperm donor, you'd be totally within your rights to foster that child-grandparent relationship. But you do not owe them that. Let him take you to court so the judge can laugh him right back out of it. Added for clarity, this is a judgment on the level of a-hole you'd be for denying grandparents access to the child. It is not legal advice. If a court says you're required to let them interact, that's one thing. That is not what this judgment is discussing. Don't assume that you know how it will work in OP's jurisdiction. The only one who could competently say that is a family court lawyer that practices where OP lives. Correct. Some places, like mine, have grandparents' rights and they can be given visitation. As far as I know, the grandparents have to prove there was some sort of pre-existing relationship prior to being denied access to the child in order to potentially qualify for grandparents' rights. Their son signing away his parental rights and not even telling them about the child's existence until now means they legally aren't connected to the child and wouldn't have any leg to stand on. Not today, home. The fact that these people just rocked up to your house and invited, when you've denied him at his parents' access and he threatened to take you to court? Yeah, do not give them any contact. They have zero respect for you and your boundaries. Just to be on the safe side, get a lawyer say about this. And also count the child support your ex would have to pay you back if he took you to court. Have it handy too. Yes, that part was not right, but she needs to think about her daughter. She's depriving her child of having to know what could be amazing grandparents, and they got mad because she won't let them meet her. If I was this child and found this out when I'm older, I'd be cutting contact with my mom. Not cool. Grandparents are usually amazing, and you can tell them how you feel about their son. If they don't agree and are going to invite him to things to try to get him part of her life, then you know you have every right to cut them off. Just because their son doesn't want anything to do with your daughter, does not mean they should not have part in your daughter's life, if it's just going to be them. They showed that they won't be good grandparents. She isn't depriving her daughter of anyone. They showed up to her house and invited after years of no contact, expecting to see a child that is a stranger to them just so they can play grandparents. How you can think those are good people is beyond me. Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling the man who raised me that he is not my dad anymore? I am a product of an affair. We found out when I was 14, and it led to my parents divorcing. I lost everything when they got divorced. John, the man who raised me, became distant. My mother was a huge mess, and I was reeling from realizing that my whole life was built on lies. John didn't want to talk to me anymore, and he didn't fight for custody. He made me move with mom. He didn't even talk to me once. He watched me cry and beg to stay, and I was on his side. I hated mom and begged him to let me stay, but he didn't want me there. He paid child support because it was his name on my birth certificate, but that was it. He disappeared from my life and I lost the side of the family too. My aunts and uncles, grandparents, and cousins. My mom didn't have a lot of relatives, and I had been closer to his side of the family. I had been really angry with my mom, but she was there for me. I lashed out and was not a good daughter, but she was the only one I had, so I forgave her. I know what she did to John was awful, but my mother loves me and that is not something I can say about John, and I needed someone in my side. I really tried to get in touch with him. I tried calling him and trying to meet up with him. He didn't respond. He sold the old house and moved away, and his parents didn't even want to see me. I was really broken and felt really guilty, and I needed a lot of therapy to gain some balance and healthy coping mechanisms. It has been 6 years, and now he's trying to contact me. I met up with him because even though he ghosted me, I still had fond memories with him and I wanted to see him. He has gotten married again, and he seemed to be happy. I referred to him by his name, and he said he didn't like it and mentioned that it made him really uncomfortable because he saw me as his daughter. I told him that I didn't see him as dad anymore. He lost it and was very upset, and told me that he had made a mistake and he wanted to make up for it. I told him that I had already grown up and I really didn't need him anymore. He got even more upset. I felt uncomfortable and ended up leaving early. I feel like an a-hole because he is the main victim of what my mom did, but I don't really have any sympathy for him. I just see him as the person who couldn't give a damn about me. Not today, home. He abandoned you during a difficult time of your life and hasn't bothered to contact you for 6 years. Being family is a privilege that has to be earned, and he lost it. This. OP, I'm sorry you had to go through that. I'm sure it was incredibly painful and difficult, and good for you for seeking therapy and giving yourself the tools to cope. And look at how he describes this. That he made a mistake? Like, oopsie, let me throw OP away like a piece of trash. No, and no. He was/is justifiably hurt and angry at what your mom did. But he watched you cry for him and beg for a relationship with him, and still cut you out. He took a cold, calculated, deliberate actions to ensure that you could not contact him. He didn't give a crap how much he was hurting you. And now, only now when he wants something from you, does he reach out? Did he even apologize for what he did? Some crap can't be taken back, or forgiven, or described in simple terms like mistake. Not the a-hole. OP, he is not the main victim here. You are. Yes, he was badly hurt by your mom, but you were badly hurt by both of them. Not the a-hole. John had reasons to withdraw from your life, but he doesn't get to act like his behaviors have no consequences. The consequence here is that you grew up without him, and he's no longer your dad. Agree, not the a-hole. He could have given himself space, and effectively withdrawn from her life in a way that was healthy for both of them. At 14, she is old enough to understand that it's complicated. All it would take is a, honey, this isn't about you. I never want you to think that. I love you, but I need some time to deal with this. It makes no promises, it gives him the ability to leave, it preserves what you had, and it reiterates that it's a him problem. Not the a-hole. It's understandable that he was angry about an affair. However, it was inexcusable that he took his anger out on a child. You literally had no choice in the matter, and were completely innocent, yet you had to bear the brunt of his anger. Yes, what your mother did to him was horrible, but that in no way excuses what he did to you. His reaction when he met with you was telling. If he were truly interested in your feelings, he would have understood that you were hurting and would have been willing to go at a pace you were comfortable with. Instead, he made it all about him. He wanted to make up for a mistake, and therefore you have to forgive him right there and then to make him feel better. Nope, it doesn't work that way. It just showed that he is just as selfish as he was when he ghosted you when you were a child. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for telling my stepsister that her father should go to a nursing home? My mom married her husband when I was 24, and he made it very clear at a time that he did not want a relationship with myself or my 3 siblings. This was fine with us because we did not particularly care for him either, and made it known to my mother that while we are happy that she is happy, we will never see him as family. We are cordial to him and make sure to send cards on his birthday or at holidays, so as not to upset my mother, but for the most part we do not speak to him or his children. My mom's husband was diagnosed with Parkinson's 8 years ago. While he remained in phase 2 for that time, he is gradually worsening. His falls are becoming more frequent, and he's becoming more forgetful. It is very sad to see, and I feel badly for my mother who is taking care of him. My siblings and myself have broached the subject of putting him in a care facility that specializes in caring for people with Parkinson's, and she said she wants to keep him home for as long as possible. Her choice, we support that, but are prepared to step in if necessary, which is now. 2 weeks ago, my mom's husband fell, and when she went to go help him up, he grabbed her and pulled her down, causing her to fall. When she fell, she broke her hip, and she has to have a hip replacement. My mother is now in the hospital and will be transferred to a rehab facility near her home. When she is able to be discharged, she will be going to live with my sister. My sister and myself are her designated healthcare representatives and her powers of attorney as well, so while she is in rehab, we are making all of her decisions. My brother reached out to my stepsister to let her know of the fall, and that my mother was in the hospital. He said that he was at the house with my mom's husband, but thought that one of them should come down to take care of him, and explained that when my mother got out of the rehab, she was moving in with my sister. My stepsister basically told my brother that she isn't coming, and that he is our problem. So he informed her that if that was the case, he would call Adult Protective Services and have them place him in a facility. In the meantime, we are trying to find placement for him at a good facility, but explained that we would not be paying for that. My stepsister freaked out and called us heartless. I feel bad, but right now my mother is our main priority. Keeping her husband safe is really not our problem, but we are doing what we can to make sure that he isn't in a dangerous situation. Am I the a-hole for telling my stepsister that her father needs to go into a facility at their expense? Now for the comments. Not the a-hole. The situation should be a surprise to nobody, and yet your stepsister seems surprised. She's gonna have to step up. Stepsister, I'm not coming down. He's your problem now. Opie's brother. Well then, we're gonna call Adult Protective Services and have him placed in a care facility so he can get the help he needs. Also, stepsister, how could you? You're so heartless. Stepsister only has a heart when the situation goes her way. It's ridiculous. Being placed in a care facility is ultimately for her father's own good. If she doesn't think he's her problem, she shouldn't have a say in whether or not he gets put in a care facility. Not the a-hole. This man made it clear that he didn't want a relationship with you or your siblings. I assume that means having you responsible for his care would also be a no-go. As long as you aren't dumping him off under an overpass, you're doing the right thing by finding a facility for him. The rest is up to his kids. I'm German, so I have no clue about legalities in the US. Would his wife/their mother be first in line to be liable for the cost of his care? Or would that liability go straight to the kids? Do the mother and husband have an estate that would be used up first? Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for asking my son and daughter-in-law for a copy of the key to the new house they bought? 2 weeks ago, my son Ethan, 27, and his wife Jess, 30, bought a small one-story house in the town we live in. After settling down, they invited us for a small party for the occasion. We sat for dinner and talked about the house a bit. Me, my husband, and Jess continued conversing after Ethan excused himself to take an important call. Jess showed me the original key to the house, and I asked if she made copies yet, and she said no. I said she should, and also give one copy to me as well. She looked at me funny and asked why she should. I explained that it is necessary so that it could be used in emergencies. She rudely said, I don't know what kind of an emergency that would require you having a key to our house. Sure won't be a fire incident. She obviously didn't seem to have any idea that a fire incident wasn't what I meant, and I got offended by her sarcasm. I pointed out that it's not just her decision, because this is my son's house as well. She smiled at me trying to be polite, and stated that only the ones who contributed towards the house get a copy and that I really don't need one anyway. Also assured me that my son will have the same answer for me. Basically saying, don't bother bring this up with Ethan, he'll tell you the same thing. But I did, and she spoke on his behalf the entire argument, repeating what she said over and over. Things escalated to her calling me pushy, and me telling her she was being unnecessarily rude and disrespectful. My husband and I left in a rush, and I felt horrible. My husband went on and on about how paranoid and controlling I was, to basically be demanding a copy of the key to the new house. But again, I stated that I was just trying to be helpful and taking extra precautions since anything could happen. But he insisted I overstepped and ruined Ethan's and Jess's joy for their new house, as well as dinner. I genuinely do not think what I said was out of line, but I'm not sure why Jess reacted so intensely. I think my request was innocent. He's right. You're the a-hole. It's all about phrasing. Do people offer copies of their keys to trusted family members in case they got locked out/need their plants watered, etc.? Yes, definitely. The key word is offer though. You said to two adults, you'll need to give me a copy of your key, which is why you're the a-hole. And then you doubled down by continuing to push. Even if you'd said, hey, if you wanted us to keep a copy of the key for you for emergencies, and then left it alone, you wouldn't be the a-hole. So, phrasing. And I imagine tone. This is exactly what I was going to say. If she had phrased it as advice and suggested that they offer a key to a close friend or neighbor in case of emergencies, then it would have been taken completely differently. She demanded a key, which makes Opie look creepy and seem like they want to look around the house while they are gone. Opie, you're the a-hole. It's all about the attitude. Things escalated to her calling me pushy and me telling her she was being unnecessarily rude and disrespectful. Opie's both pushy and unnecessarily rude and disrespectful of their boundaries. It's their house. She doesn't get to demand copies of the key. That was out of line. Offer in case of emergency? Yes. Demand? No. It seems like Opie's really disrespectful to daughter-in-law in general. She thinks that Ethan's call can overrule Jess's, and that he has more of a say regarding the house. You're the a-hole. You sound like one of those overbearing mother-in-laws in r/just no mother-in-law. You had a point about someone having a key, but that someone didn't have to be you. And you should have talked to them together. You should have dropped it once she said no. But instead, you pulled the "it's my son's house too" card and made a power play for your son and which woman he'd listen to, which was weird and unnecessary. Then you got offended and had to make a scene. Your son is married and has a new priority now. Leave her alone. You're the a-hole. Am I the a-hole for not letting my ex move in, which could cost her custody? Alternate account, fake names too. So when I, 35 male, was 22, I got married to Kristen. We had our son, Sky, 11 male, about a year into our marriage. Things were pretty going well, I felt like. I was working, Kristen was staying home with Sky. Things were tight, but I was able to buy us a home and provide a decent life. I was just getting started in IT, so the money was coming. Just had to be patient. Well, I come home one day and half the stuff is gone. So is Sky and Kristen. And a note on the counter. Kristen said that she wasn't happy with our lifestyle. That she wanted something that wasn't mediocre and wanted to live a good life. She had been seeing someone else and was moving in with him, and that I needed to get a lawyer. We go through a nasty divorce, and get split custody. So I remarried a few years later to my current wife, Alana. She's amazing, and the most supportive person ever. We have one daughter together. I started my own IT consulting business about 5 years ago, and it's taken off, giving me, my wife, Sky, and Gwen a nice life. My ex has had a string of boyfriends and hasn't remarried. We don't talk at all besides details about Sky. So I got a call a week ago from Kristen. She was asking for a place to stay for a little bit. Her boyfriend was kicking her out, and she didn't have anywhere else to go. She wasn't going to be able to afford a safe place for her and Sky. She asked if she could live in our guest house until she could find a place to live. I basically told her no, that she didn't deserve my charity after walking out on me a decade ago, that she as a mother needs to clean her crap up and provide for him, and that if she wasn't going to be able to afford a safe place to live, then I want to revisit the custody agreement, because I don't want Sky to move into some sketchy apartment or some sketchy guy. But I told her I'd ask my wife and get back to her. My wife hates Kristen, but said she doesn't want Sky resenting us if something happens to his mom. But she really doesn't want my ex living here either and would prefer to revisit the custody agreement in order to give Sky some more stability. So we thought this is our chance to push for solo custody. My mom wants me to consider the message this sends to our son. My dad told me to remember the note on my counter 10 years ago and do think about what is best for my son in the long run. Am I the a-hole? Edit. Because some people have asked, yes, Sky loves his mom. She isn't a bad mom to him. We haven't asked his opinion because we are sure he would want her to move in. Edit. We don't want a temporary agreement because that would lead to more instability for Sky. This would be a final decision. Now for the top comments. This is messy, but I'm going with not the a-hole for not allowing your wife to stay with you. She made her bed, and now she has to lie in it. The thing you haven't mentioned is how your son feels about all of this. It's time to have a very frank conversation with him and get his feelings on this matter. Your son should be priority number 1. I agree that the son should be priority number 1, but that doesn't mean ex-wife moving in, because certainly that's what Sky would want. Making your child your first priority doesn't automatically mean they get to make decisions that affect the entire family. His mom put herself in this situation. She needs to figure it out without making it Opie's responsibility. While moving in would allow Opie's ex to keep custody, it would make Opie's family life a living hell, which in the end would be detrimental to Sky as well. People divorce precisely so their kids can have a peaceful environment and not be around two parents that can't stand each other. Changed from not the a-hole to a massive you're the a-hole based on Opie's edits and responses. You don't have to completely kick Kristen to the curb by pushing for solo custody. You can help her in another way. The thing here is to do what's best for your son in the long run, and that for his mother to be secure. My suggestion is you offer to take your son full-time for maybe 6 months or so. This will give Kristen time to get a job and accommodations. allow her to take him for the day on weekends, etc. Once she has life sorted out, custody goes back to how it is now. You're the a-hole. Going for sole custody or having your ex-wife move in are not your only options, and you know it. Not the a-hole for not wanting her to move in, but that doesn't mean that you are not being an a-hole. We go through a nasty divorce and get split custody. It was decided that it was in Sky's best interest to have both parents in his life, and until he is old enough to express a preference, that is what should happen where possible. Having Sky live with you full-time while his mother sorts herself out is a very different thing than going for sole custody for the rest of his childhood. You could tell your ex that you won't go for sole custody, but she needs to sign paperwork, that Sky will stay with you so that his situation is stable while she sorts herself out. You can both preferably joint explain to Sky that Mommy is having a difficult time at the moment, so he will live with you full-time until things are better for Mommy, and then you will go back to the previous arrangement. If he asks why Mommy can't come and live with you, which at 11 he probably won't, you explain that Mommy and Daddy respect each other, but don't get along well, so that is only going to make everyone miserable. The message that sends to your son is that people are responsible for their own actions and the consequences of them, but we don't take advantage of other people's misfortune. Edit. Opie has added this reply showing his motivations are not about his child's best interest, but what appears to be revenge. He replied just now, "No, my ex-wife treats him well. But I'd sooner give money to a slot machine than Kristen. She doesn't get child support, and I wouldn't even pay for a hotel room for her." Next story. Am I the a-hole for being openly hostile towards my sister and telling on her, thus potentially making her husband lose custody of his children? I'm not gonna be shy about this. My sister sucks. She is a horrible, self-centered person who thinks she's the main character. She is not only a horrible person, she is a step monster. She married this guy, who is a freaking pushover, 3 years ago. He has 2 children, 10 and 6, and my sister constantly complains about them, saying things like the 6-year-old is gross because he sips too loud or has stained clothing. For the love of God, he is 6. That's what a child is supposed to do. And she is so mean to the 10-year-old girl. She acts straight out jealous of her. I've caught her taunting her that Daddy loves my sister more than her. She is horrible. I've straight up called her out after trying to talk to her a million times. At Christmas, she was saying that it'd be nice to have the kids there. And I said, "Why? You hate them." This was when everything was almost over, and she had been bragging to her friends that her husband had spent more on her than on his daughter. A fight ensued. My parents reprimanded me, but my cousins took my side and called her out, noting every moment that they had witnessed her being horrible. Her husband obviously took her side and said that she was a wonderful stepmother, and the kids love her. To which I said that was a lie, as I had consoled them countless times after they were taunted by my sister. They left, and we haven't talked since. One day I was running errands and run into my step-nephews who were with their mother. I'd never met her, but honestly, she is wonderful. We decided to have some coffee. While the kids were playing, she asked me how her children behaved, etc. I said they were wonderful, and then I just spilled the beans on my sister. How awful she was, what I've heard her say to the kids, and the inaction of her ex-husband. By the end, she was horrified. She said the kids didn't like her, but she always chucked it up to my sister being the new woman in their father's life. She said the kids never really said anything even when she asked. I then told her I was very concerned for the children, as my sister had straight up told a 10-year-old that it would be better if she disappeared from her father's life. Their mother saw red and asked me if I'd be willing to testify. She said that this was unacceptable and she would be taking their father to court again. I said I would recount the events that I witnessed and could ask my cousins who witnessed a lot too. She was very grateful. I asked my cousins who were all willing to recount the events, but word got around to my parents, and by extension my sister. And they have been calling me the biggest a-hole on the planet who would betray family on a whim. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. Those kids are clearly being mistreated by your sister, and clearly their well-being is being neglected by their father. I'm normally not a fan of people injecting themselves into someone else's relationship, but you're looking out for these children and there's nothing at all wrong with that. To be honest, I don't care about the relationship of her and her ketchup-smelling husband. I feel really, really bad for the kids. Exactly. This is all about the kids, and I will never knock someone who is standing up for kids. In my opinion, there's nothing lower than a person who mistreats children or animals. Not stay home. How awful for those poor children. You are absolutely doing the right thing in protecting them from your sister. You should be prepared for your family to take her side though. In my opinion, if your family is willing to side with her, good riddance. Hopefully, you can still have a relationship with the kids and their mother though. Good job. Only my parents. The rest of my family is as fed up with my sister as I am. She is not very popular these days. You're not stay home. I don't like when people throw around the word narcissist around here, but your sister sounds like one. To be able to criticize children and be jealous of their relationship with their father? To tell them he loves her more than them? My mother is a narcissist. One of my earliest memories is her telling my sister and me, after our father had tucked us in and told us he loved us more than anything, that he didn't mean more than her, that he would always love her more. I'll never forget that confusing moment in my young life. That woman did damage to all of her children, that she'll never take responsibility for, and that we'll be healing from for the rest of our lives. You offer these kids mother assistance to stop that from happening to her babies any longer. You did a hard thing. You will probably catch crap from family, but I think you did the right thing. You know what's funny? She once went to a psychologist who diagnosed her with NPD. She didn't like the diagnosis, and went to a behavioral therapist who didn't diagnose her at all. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for making my cousin a laughingstock with the pressing of a button? So I have a cousin who's overly entitled. I'm talking the self-proclaimed gem of the family entitled. Never been told no for as long as I've known her. Anyhow, she knew I recently came into some money and figured she deserved a share. She calls my cell and basically demands a share. I laugh and tell her not a chance. I thought that would be the end of it, but no. She goes off on me big time, saying the most ridiculous entitled crap I've personally witnessed. That she'll get her parents to force me to give her money. How she'll get me disowned from our family, etc. But what she didn't know, I have an app on my phone which records all calls. I had some legal issue in the past regarding family, so I decided it's best to always have a recording of calls. The ones that are innocent I always delete. So I send a recording to a tech-savvy friend and ask him to install a small speaker onto a picture frame which is connected to a button. I get a picture of my cousin and place it in the frame. I put it up onto my apartment wall with a button beside it. So now anytime someone wants a laugh, they can just push the button and listen to her 4-5-second over-entitled outburst. It's kind of become the funniest thing, and every time people come over, they just have to push the button just to get a laugh. Cousin found out about it and basically berated me for making her the laughingstock of the family. Am I the a-hole? Now for the comments. Not stay home. That's genius. It belongs in one of the revenge subs. The cousin had it coming. Opie's retaliation could not have been better. Hilarious. Not stay home. I think this falls under the play stupid games win stupid prizes category. She at least brought the joy of laughter when guests pressed the button. I wouldn't mind getting a stupid prize if it's at the cousin's expense. Butch didn't know I have an app on my phone which records all calls. I had some legal issue in the past regarding family, so I decided it's best to always have a recording of calls. Not stay home, but you should be really careful about this, because in 11 states it's illegal, and it would be horrible to get arrested for outing your cousin as a greedy a-hole. Last story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to let my girlfriend take my son after his mom begged me to? My ex-wife and I got divorced 3 years ago. One of the reasons is that she was, still is, married to her job and not me. We have 50-50 custody of our 4-year-old son. I met my current girlfriend almost 2 years ago and we're planning on getting engaged on the end of 2022. My girlfriend adores my son and likes to spend time with him. She'd even let my ex drop my son off at our place because of work. She's a nurse. This occurred several times, and although my girlfriend never complained, I just couldn't help feel that my ex was taking advantage of my girlfriend's good nature and basically messing up our custody agreement. The other day, my girlfriend and I were home. My ex-wife called her asking if she could drop my son off for a few hours. My ex-wife was on speaker when she was speaking to my girlfriend on the phone, so I heard from a distance. I took the phone right before my girlfriend could say yes and firmly told my ex-wife no and to stop taking advantage of my girlfriend. She kept on about how she needed to cover this emergency shift right then and couldn't find a replacement on such short notice. I said it wasn't mine and my girlfriend's fault and that she should be ashamed of herself for using my girlfriend like that. My girlfriend kept staring as my ex said that she wasn't using her since she was my son's future stepmom. I said, well, that doesn't make her your personal babysitter for Pete's sake. But she said it's between her and my girlfriend. My girlfriend told me to let my ex-wife bring my son over. But if I let it happen again, this will set a precedent for my ex-wife to pull similar stunts in the future. My ex-wife begged, but I told her to get a babysitter. She said something about not finding one, but I hung up and handed the phone back to my girlfriend. My girlfriend looked upset with me and said that none of what I did was called for, that I should have let my ex-wife bring my son over. I asked if she was fine with being used as a babysitter, and she said that spending time with my son is not like babysitting. I let her know that always saying yes and not setting boundaries won't do her any good. She got more upset and said that I blew this out of proportion and ruined some great time with my son. She went upstairs and acted hurt by how I handled the situation, though I thought that I was helping her stand up for herself and set boundaries with those who try to take advantage of her. Am I the a-hole? I think there's something wrong. You don't seem to have given any thought to your child's well-being. Won't he be happier with you and girlfriend instead of with a sitter? You don't appear interested in seeing your son. Your ex is a medical professional, and we're in the midst of a pandemic. You seem more interested in exerting control over your ex, girlfriend, and son than actually building relationships. You're the a-hole. What less than full-time parent turns down time with her kid? I assume girlfriend is available, not working at this time, given she was going to say yes. Plus, it's not babysitting, it's step-parenting, even when it's not your time. Most of the time you hear people rightfully upset that their significant other is being a bad step-parent and not forming a bond. I hope he hits a jackpot and has a very nice girlfriend with a kind mothering nature, and he's complaining. You're the a-hole. I'm not sure your ex is married to her job. She's a nurse during a pandemic. And what kind of father refuses to see more of his child? And if you think your ex is married to her job, why did you agree to 50-50 custody? Why didn't you go for full custody and visitations for your ex? You made decisions for your girlfriend that just assumed she didn't know how to stand up for herself. You were rude to your ex and to your girlfriend in just one conversation. I get the feeling that you're going to be single for a long time. Him putting to work in inverted commas is just extra hunted. Does he think a nurse is lying about having a short notice emergency shift during a pandemic where health workers are stretched past all reasonable limits?
Update: I-24 male was accused of sending nudes to a co-worker. Original post: let's call my co-worker Rachel. Over last few months, I've become good friends with her. She lives with her boyfriend, but we've been flirting with each other since past few weeks after we were paired for scavenger hunt during office retreat. Up until the office retreat, our only medium of communication, the app we use for teamwork, which is Slack. 2 groups, one is for office chat, and the other group comprises of 20-something from work, more of an after-hours chat group to hang out together for drinks or dinner. Me and Rachel were just friends until our office retreat last month. We started having our own private Slack conversation, and then later continued our conversation on iMessage. Both agreed it would be risky to communicate to one another via office account. I did know about her boyfriend a week after our office retreat, but she was the one who brought it up and didn't mind me flirting with her and vice versa. She equally flirted back. Honestly, being single, it didn't occur to me then that I should have stopped messaging her after she dropped the have boyfriend message. We piqued our casual conversation by exchanging tens of messages every day. She did ask me if I would like to join her for drinks after work at this bar 2 blocks down the road, and I asked her if we could choose someplace else because I didn't want to be spotted with her by some co-worker, and we did go out. This was 2 weeks ago. We later went out on 5 other dates including 2 dinners, but I swear it was platonic. We termed our dates as an experience to try out new places. Oh, we haven't kissed or held hand or all those gestures. I agree we flirted back and forth, but then we become close friends. I took a week off to visit my family back home, and out of nowhere I was shocked to learn that she posted a screenshot of our iMessage thread late last evening. I was shocked to see that thread with my D-pic, which I haven't. I haven't sent her iMessage in last 2 days. Last message on my end reads Merry Christmas with Christmas tree emoji on Christmas Eve, and her replying back with a thanks and bunch of emojis. I'm quite certain that she photoshopped the remainder of that thread with me thinking about you. Me, some other guy's D-pic. And she posted that screenshot, along with caption nice guys. She hasn't even redacted my name. I've been trying to reach to her since last 10 hours, as this has been on Facebook all over. She hasn't replied to my calls or any further messages yet after the post. One of my coworkers called me and sent me that screenshot from his Facebook when he saw that post. Honestly, I don't understand why she has cooked up that story. I couldn't see the post because I was apparently blocked before she posted it. Seems like she has even blocked me on iMessage. I've received numerous messages on Facebook and texts. I couldn't sleep, and I've decided to go to cops in an hour. I've even sent out an email to our company's HR last night, explaining that it wasn't me who sent that pic, and attached screenshots on my end, as I thought this might escalate to HR sooner or later. I also sent Rachel email, trying to be as polite as I could as to why she posted that screenshot, which we both know wasn't something I did. What's stressing me out is the damage it has already done to my reputation by the people who have seen that post. I have asked a trusted coworker and friend to send me screenshot of comments to that post every often since I can't view that post. Truly appreciate any inputs you guys might have. This was out of nowhere. What should I do moving forward besides contacting the cops? I worry that my word won't hold against hers. Can I ask cops or HR to personally vet her inbox and validate that against her post? Because I know that would prove my truth that I haven't sent that pic. Please help. Now for the top advice before reading the updates. My guess's boyfriend found out about you, and she is going nuclear to cover her butt. This is exactly what's going on. I'd be whipping my junk out to all of HR and the cops to prove I didn't do it, then I'd sue her for defamation and get her fired. Someone in legal advice said that contacting HR is a waste of time, but I disagree. Don't just report the situation, file an official complaint against her now. Be proactive AF. If this was legit, she should have filed an HR complaint, not broadcast it on Facebook. Be a step ahead of her on that one. Also, pull your current, real-time phone, text records to show that you didn't send her a message at the time that's shown or is being implied. You may need to get an official record, but that may help for now. Not sure what your Minnesota Police Department will do about a California resident and workplace matter, but get a lawyer as soon as possible. I completely agree. HR is useless, true, in the sense their loyalties lie with the company. However, filing an official complaint is documentation and creates paper trail of the events. Her boyfriend found out, and now she is trying to cover herself and you are collateral damage. I would definitely press charges and maybe file a civil suit. Take this as a lesson to never start something with someone who is in a relationship, and you never defecate where you eat. This guy broke 2 major rules and you listed them both. Never get intimate with someone who is in a relationship. It never ends well and is morally screwed. If things do work out, would you really be confident in a relationship where your partner literally cheated on their ex to meet you? Don't date or bang where you work. This one is pretty freaking obvious. Keep your copy. You might be able to prove it isn't on your side, and it should at least obviously not be your junk. Depending on where you live, you'll have to sue for defamation. Get a lawyer first, then go to the police with the aid of said lawyer. This woman is trying to end you. Yes, I'm gonna report it here in Minnesota, and later again once I fly back to California. I don't know whose jurisdiction this might fall under, but that's the only thing I can do so far. The stress of knowing why she did that is killing me. And now for the updates. I was advised to file complaint in California since I live and work there. I'm gonna call a lawyer who happens to be my mom's cousin in California. It's very stressful to endure being accused of sending D-pic when you haven't. The embarrassment is driving me crazy. And load of messages in my inbox. I have this urge to reply each one of them explaining it wasn't me, but that might backfire. I don't know. Update 2. A lot has changed since Friday. Most stressful time of my life yet. I flew back to California Friday afternoon. Also hired myself a lawyer. Head of HR called early evening and said she wanted to sort this matter out beyond office hours. Rachel didn't show up at work Friday. She was supposed to be working through New Year, since very few personnel have been manning our work over the holidays. HR scheduled meeting at the executive conference room, which is 4 floors on top of our work area. She did advise me not to communicate with other co-workers till this matter is looked into by HR. I also informed her that I've hired a lawyer for any ramifications that might unfold from this incident. She assured me that they will be fair and try to mediate this matter as if I actually did send that pic. I rushed to office Saturday morning. Thank God it was weekend and holidays. I would have had a panic attack if I had to come to the office on a typical weekday. I was early by at least an hour. The conference room was filled with a senior executive, 2 other women, who seemed like junior-level HR personnel, and head of our HR. Rachel showed up right on time. Sorry for detailing, but I remember all of this like it just happened a minute ago. After an awkward start, I showed the HR my iMessage thread. Okay, Rachel was very defensive and she said something like, I was shocked and terrorized when I received that message, and she claimed she threw her phone in anger and her phone stopped working. She showed her phone with cracked screen. WTF. She also claimed that she didn't reply to my messages and shut out because of that unusable phone. But she didn't hesitate when the HR asked her to surrender her broken phone or hand it to our guy. Oh, I also asked if she can show our iMessage thread through iCloud, and she claimed she doesn't use iCloud. 2 things: she owns an iPhone, iPad, and a MacBook. It's very unlikely that she doesn't use iCloud for messages. Moreover, if she claims her screen was broken, how the heck was I blocked? I know she had her read receipts turned on from our conversation history, but none of my past messages had any message read notifications. Anyhow, our IT guy dropped by, took a backup, and recovered on someone else's iPhone by afternoon. During this time, we took a break and decided to reconvene by afternoon. The IT guy came with restored phone, and guess what? Her message inbox was empty. She was also asked to log into her Apple account, and even then, her message inbox was still empty. She started panicking, saying that the phone drop might have broken some chip or something. Our IT guy checked her phone, as we were asked to sign a consent before turning our personal devices to company, and did something with work profile config or something. All her app data were intact except notes, contacts, and messages and photos. Our IT guy gave his conclusion that it was deliberately deleted. This was few hours ago. Okay, since all of this was recorded, not on camera, but documented by one of the junior HR personnel, our meeting was adjourned, and we had to turn our phones. Rachel was also asked to turn her MacBook and iPad, as the IT guy believed they can recover from her other devices. And oh, our IT guy called what he said was our in-house iOS expert, who devised work profiles for all Apple devices of employees, whether company issues or BYOD. This was around 4. By 7 p.m., I received call from our HR where she said that they haven't been able to recover any messages from either of her Apple devices. She also affirmed that IT thinks those messages might have been deliberately deleted, but they cannot prove that for certain, something that's required by company bylaws to terminate her immediately. Another thing, I was told on Friday that I cannot sue any current employees, which means that her hint of terminate her immediately makes me wonder if they are gonna actually fire her. I also spoke with my lawyer, who is certain that they will let go of her, and then we can file a lawsuit of her own. Not sure what the future is gonna hold for me, but all I'm looking forward to in the next few days is a legal obligation, wherein Rachel is forced to publicly apologize everywhere for accusing me of sending her nudes. I haven't spoken to her or able to determine the true intention for framing me into this. I'll be going to office late evening on Monday to talk to those IT guys and collect my phone back. I was cleared to collect my phone, not sure of Rachel. I might also ask them if they found anything that might be helpful, since at this point in time they are the only people besides Rachel that can see what's on her device. Still 2 unanswered questions: if she would be fired, so that we can file a lawsuit against her, and why the heck did she do it? Sorry, I saw so many comment notifications. I wasn't able to respond to all of those after flying back to California, and the ruckus in between. Would try to respond since it's gonna be Sunday soon. It's also interesting to know that IT guys don't have access to iMessages, even after having installed Work Profile. We had a 30-minute video explaining what Apple Work Profile is and how it works. Rachel's demeanor was as if she was victim of something. I'm really thankful to my co-workers, one of whom actually picked me up from the airport and helped me get some dinner, while this other co-worker talked me over to not do anything crazy that I might regret. To be honest, I was gonna send her a trashy email for having ruined my life, but I was reminded by a friend that it's gonna hit me back if this was to be scrutinized any further. Oh, I also intend to reply to Facebook messages once we can initiate the process to sue her. As to her reason for doing it, I'd bet you're not the only guy she's flirting with in messaging, but you're the one her boyfriend is aware of and concerned about. She's received a D-pic, he's seen it, and rather than say it was from someone else, she's pinned it on you, and he's insisted she do something about it. Anyway, don't contact her again. Especially if you're planning on suing her later, that's just going to make things messy, and she could accuse you of harassing her. It sounds like it's going to work out, hope it does for you. Also, take this as a lesson, OP. Don't flirt with women you work with, and keep any interaction with them strictly work-related. You got hella lucky this time. Well, on the plus side, you got to be in Cali and not Minnesota with the freezing rain. Glad things went your way. I lost my holidays though. Ignore her, cut all contact, and next time, don't flirt or hook up with people in a relationship, because surprise, surprise, they are trash people. I'm not even sure what the end game is for these people. So you've flirted with someone in a relationship, you've wooed them, and now they're banging you. Best case scenario for you, they dumped the person they cheated with for you. Congratulations, you're now in a relationship with someone you already know has no problem cheating. And they're in a relationship with someone who clearly doesn't think cheating is a huge deal anyway. This is just a recipe for disaster. I don't think I'm adult enough, as pointed out by someone in previous thread and even this other co-worker. It's always a stupid idea to be friends with someone who is in a relationship. Last story. My wife lied and told her kids that their father was dead. I exposed her lie and took them to see him. My wife got full custody of her kids, 4 female, 6 male and 9 female, after their dad got sick. She rarely let them see him or let the grandparents see them. It was like this for whole 8 months. Then their dad's health got worse and she just stopped taking them to see him. She claimed she was protecting them from being traumatized, but in my opinion, this is the time where they should have seen him the most. The latest stunt was finding out that she actually lied to them about him being dead. I was shocked and felt quite sick seeing the kids cry for days and looking depressed. I called her out on it, and she said it was the only way to get them to stop asking about him and not pressure her into taking them to see him in that state. I had the biggest fight with her over this. Then I took the 3 of them and went to the hospital and called their aunt to take them to see their dad. All without my wife knowing. The kids reacted intensely, especially the oldest, and refused to see her after the lie she told. She had a psychotic breakdown and started yelling at me saying she has been trying so hard to navigate this awful situation, and I turned her own kids against her and demonized her when she only had their best interest at heart. She has moved out and is considering separation either temporary or permanent. I'm getting lots of blame for what I did, especially from her family. The kid's father's family are, however, appreciative of what I'd done, but said there will be a lawyer involved, so the issue got 10 times worse. I don't know if I did the right thing, but I feel like I messed up my life and my marriage. There's no coming back from this, especially knowing the court will get involved. Now for the top comments. You messed up your marriage, sure, but you acted in accordance with your morals, and it's ultimately your soon-to-be ex-wife who's unambiguously at fault here. I agree marriage is probably over, but you acted with your morals. My morals would be the same. Imagine being that child and being lied to that your parent is dead. It's wrong to me, and I think when those kids grow up they will be grateful that there was a real one like you around. For those kids, I think you did the right thing. The fact that she lied to them that he was dead, that's just unacceptable. If he recovers, you don't mention whether his condition is terminal or otherwise. Was your wife never going to explain that? Or if recovery is not possible, never going to give them and him a chance to say goodbye? What she did was based on her having her own best interests at heart, not theirs. Their best interests would be served by letting them see their father and look into therapeutic support to help them navigate these emotions, whereas she didn't want to deal with the situation and told a lie that made her life easier. And that lie will now cause more trauma, I'm sure. You are not to blame. And with your marriage over, would you want to stay married? Knowing that she can lie about something this serious to her children. What might she lie to you about if this is how she deals with things? She should be the one dealing with court consequences, not you. But thank you for helping those children and their father to meet. Thank you. Everyone jumped to this guy being at death's door, and that seeing him would be awful. We don't know if he's that bad. People waiting for organs or with autoimmune diseases or cancer get sicker and then can recover. He could just be hospitalized because of chemotherapy side effects. My dad was, and the chemo was sending him into atrial fibrillation. For all we know, this was the way the ex was going to keep them from seeing their dad and his family permanently. We don't know what she would lie about to her ex. She could be telling him the kids don't want to see him, etc. It's hard to know because the woman is willing to tell such an insane huge lie to make her life easier. Even if he was at death's door, his kids deserve to say goodbye. It happens all the time, and I'm sure the family would help make it less scary. You did the right thing. Your wife is the one who damaged her relationship with her children. These children deserve the right to spend as much time with their dad as they can, because there isn't that much time left. And their dad deserves to see them as much as he can. You are an empathetic, caring person who did the right thing, while knowing how your wife would probably react to what you did. The fact that she could blatantly lie to her own child with no remorse is massive red flag. Your marriage may very well be over, and if it is, you will have dodged a bullet.